The final 8 is pretty much set. We know the way that it is going to work. No, I'm just calling it. I'm calling it. Adelaide will play Collingwood at home. Geelong will play Brisbane at the MCG.
Oof.
It'll be Fremantle taking on Gold Coast in Perth. A nice result for them. And it'll be the Giants taking on my Hawks at NG Stadium. Josh Gablich, hopefully with a bit of a line of sight on the way that fixture timing-wise looks. For those of you, particularly the Collingwood fans, looking to travel, and they will be travelling in their droves to Adelaide in one of the more ferocious build-ups to a final we've seen. But it's the Guts Up Cup, and it's fallout to that. David King is here. Kingy, you've been highly critical of the coach. In the end, they've won 16 games. They've qualified for a home final. In a cutthroat do-or-die, they've got it done against all odds. They were raging outsiders in that one. No one gave them a chance. How did they do it? And what are your first thoughts?
Well, my first thoughts are well done. Fantastic game, great afternoon of footy. They just brought speed in that second quarter. They were so aggressive. They had their third most aggressive quarter for the year with ball movement, and it paid massive dividends. They were able to get the ball quickly to one-on-ones in their forward half, and the Dogs couldn't handle it. That's the bottom line. That is it. Short and sweet. That they played the game the way they needed to play it to absolutely fleece the Dogs. The Dogs are the worst one-on-one team in the competition in a defensive sense. They absolutely went after Rory Lobb, who was caught in 6 one-on-ones and lost 4 of them. That's a disastrous result. The Dogs lack a defender that can actually stand up under genuine heat like that. We've talked about that regularly, but let's talk about Fremantle for a moment. They took all the risks. I was worried about playing Hayden Young. I thought, this is a guy that had an impacted year. Is this too big a risk? He was brilliant in the first quarter. And if he wasn't there, they would have been 3 goals down.
It changed the game.
It changed the game. So credit for the coaching staff to take the risk, one, and for the player to then deliver. I thought Sarong's first quarter, he was well clamped, and for him to light up after that was just a great sign of maturity and leadership. And you can pick apart all their forwards. Murphy Reid was unbelievable in moments that gave enormous confidence to this group. So in the end, a cracking game to watch, and I think a real indicator to the scope that this team has.
Yeah, they have. Your criticism has been around the way that they've played, but in the end they've won 16 games.
Yeah.
So.
But you got to play.
It would say that
you can win
this
games.
Style stacks up regardless, and you have to win games different ways. And no team has been brilliant for every game. Brisbane have had their complete meltdowns. Geelong have had the same. The Giants have had the same. So yes, at times Fremantle have had the odd game where they've gone slow, but all in all, he's done a pretty good job to get them to 16 wins, regardless of whether you think they should play this way the whole time.
No,
do you think they should play this way the whole time?
It's nothing to do with them specifically, right? I think if you defend with the footy, that long term it doesn't help you. And we've had the Richmond discussion 100 times. Richmond 2016 versus 2017. It doesn't. In my opinion, it doesn't work. Now you can continue down that path. Did it work in the first quarter?
No, it didn't. But your ability to adjust, you're not going to get the game on your terms the whole time.
I understand
the Dogs
that.
have won 14 out of 16 at Marvel. Clearly, there's going to be some heat on it. They conceded 19 entries. I thought their backs stood up pretty well. And they just didn't have the ability to go fast at that moment because they were so switched on defensively. When the game opened up and they did win contests, particularly at ground level, after they went down the line, then they go fast off that. So I still think...
That's not right. That's not right.
What do you mean?
If you have a look at what we showed on First Crack last night, it's not absolutely radical speed and out of control ball movement. It's a pop handball that commits the man on the mark to stand, and it's a release through ball type handball. That is all we're talking about.
Yeah, but sometimes that's not there. That's not there the whole time. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that from the start every time.
We showed 3 in the first quarter last week that they didn't do against Brisbane, and that's what I'm critical of. If you don't challenge, if you're not adventurous with some of your ball movement, you can't score against a good one.
And you think that's solely on the coach? You don't think that's on an inexperienced group at the moment that's just absorbing some heat in their game early? You could probably show the same from any team this year. You could show the same from Brisbane in their poor losses or their poor performances. You could show the same with. I'm sure you would find 2 or 3 handballs that they didn't give. You think every single handball that Geelong have the option to give, they give every single time.
Yeah.
You couldn't find 2 or 3 from a game they didn't give. I call rubbish on that.
Okay, well, have a breath, and I'll tell you. Teams choose the speed in which they want to play the game. Fremantle have chosen the way they want to play the game and the way they set it up. They've been that way all year.
They've won 16 games. They've kicked 17 goals against
you want to talk about the winning, that's fine. Right? I'm just talking about the method.
Well, they won 16. They win more than they lose.
But you're talking about the speed of ball stuff, the pop handball stuff. They don't do that. They don't do that.
I disagree. I think they win contest at ground level and then get out the back with Frederick, Switkowski, Murphy Reid, and these players. I actually see them a little bit differently.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Well,
you don't think their ability to get out the back with their speed and their half forwards.
I don't think we see it regularly enough.
Down the line ball.
We did yesterday in quarter 2, absolutely, and because they played at a different speed. So have a look at what we showed last night. I love when they play fast. I think they've got enormous talent. And when you see their forward line explode, like you're saying, it gives Murphy Reid a chance to be Murphy Reid. Shea Bolton was brought to this football club for this type of game plan. He's not a chip mark type guy. He's random play. He wants chaos. So I love ball speed. I love when the game's played fast. And I know you can't do it all the time, but when the opportunity is there to do it, you have to do it. Did you see what Brisbane did last night through the corridor? They take risk.
I was there, but I think they also build up and they play different sort of methods. They go slow as well, and yet when they can pick it off on the 45, then they go.
It's probably
not
4 touches
all the time.
No, I'm not saying all the time. You're misleading the witness here. I'm not saying all the time. There are probably 4 moments a quarter where you can pop a handball and get on the fly and go. And if you have a look at first crack last night, we split screened. One from last week that was almost ideal to one from Sunday afternoon. So my point is, I think the Richmond model of 16 to 17 gives you the template for what this team can become. I think they're seriously going places. We've had this chat about the talent levels and the list build and all those sorts of things.
Do you think, though, you've been hard at, like, in the end, for the majority of the year, they've been pretty good. Their record against the top 8 is they've beaten the Crows, they've beaten the Giants, beaten the Suns, they've beaten the Hawks, they've beaten the Pies, they've beaten the Dogs. That is a good body of work that suggests their game style actually stacks up.
Yeah, you can have that opinion. I'm not begrudging you of your opinion. You can have that.
I'm just asking you whether you need to give them a little bit more credit.
No, well, I don't like when they play slow footy. I just don't think it takes you to the promised land. That if they go on and win it, credit to them, terrific. But it hasn't happened before. That slow play
their list demographic of the lowest. I mean, bottom 4 for age is probably going to suggest they're not. Like you said, the Dogs are next year. I don't think the Fremantle are thinking they're going to win the premiership this year with this young group. But what a good experience it is for them.
We're talking about system, aren't we?
But you said
I think they'll make system changes.
I don't think anyone thought they're going to go on and win it.
No, but if they do, we're just having conversation, aren't we? Like you would think that they would beat the Gold Coast Suns at home. That would be a highly likely outcome.
And then would you say that's a successful season?
I'm not. The successful season stuff is really not my discussion. My discussion is
but that's what we live and breathe. That's what we live and breathe in.
We've got 5 teams that can't compete this year. We've never seen a year like it in terms of 15 wins making the 8.
So what does success look like? Because you said if they didn't make finals, that's failure. What does success look like?
I didn't say it was failure. You said it was failure.
Well,
you've been the failure brief with the finals.
If
not
they
me.
didn't make finals, you were calling for his job. That's not success.
I never called for his job. I said he would have his job next year regardless. Last week, if you want to play it back, but I'm not sacking him. I'm just saying that the way they play, in my opinion, doesn't take you to the promised land. That is all I've ever said. That slow ball movement is not my cup of tea, and I'll stick fat to that. I'm rusted on there.
Yep, and I disagree slightly. Just thought they probably deserved a little bit more credit.
I just
for
gave
the
him
body
credit.
of work. Yeah, for yesterday, for the body of work for the year. You win 16 games for the season. That's a fair effort. Anyway, look, we disagree, but let's have a listen to the coach, Justin Longmuir, on the win last night.
From the start of the week, I felt like we reset after the Brisbane game. We didn't catastrophise it. We looked into it and what wasn't us. And we got back on the horse pretty quick, straightened up. There was some pretty simple focuses and, I felt like there was that sort of performance coming all week from the attitude of the players. I think one of our strengths against the better sides this year is really able to withhold. Yeah, really proud of the attitude of the players. They lent in on process and system and got the result.
They had a great week in the planning, didn't they?
Yeah, I was going to say, we spoke about this Friday.
Yeah.
Do you think I thought he handled the week perfectly. I thought he did a pretty good job with the mind games of just changing the narrative somewhat respectfully, but saying, this is on them as much as it is on us. We've won one more game. That would have planted a seed, there's no doubt about that. So I thought, to his point there after the game, that they did handle the week very, very well, and they were well led by Alex Pearce, who is an understated captain, but everything you hear about him is absolute quality, and he got his own individual task done. So
killed him,
and then challenged at quarter time, so to respond as well. So they handled it perfectly. A great sign of maturity.
Yeah, and look, we touched on the risk with Young, but I do think. The way that they play does maximise Jackson. They're long down it's not even down the line. It was more to the point of the centre square. That long ball to the point of the half-back point of centre square, where they were brilliant in that second term, either bringing it to ground or clear winning that ball and off and gone. Great play.
Yeah, I thought they were too tall as well. So proven wrong to be in that space. The functionality of the forwards, Tracy, Amos, Voss and Jackson, worked exceptionally well and exposed one of the Bulldogs' biggest weaknesses. This season, the Western Bulldogs had these players in the top 100. Ed Richards at 1, Bontempelli 2, Darcy at 17, Libber at 21, Dale at 27, Kennedy 41, English 67, Fraser 72, Riley West 92, not including Aaron Norton, and they miss the 8 after starting raging red-hot favourites to win that game at home against the Fremantle Dockers and couldn't get it done. Kingy, your thoughts on the Bulldogs side of things?
Picked apart down back, and it's always been a stone in their shoe. They really don't have a key defender on their list that can do what a Harris Andrews can do, or even what Pearce did yesterday. Just lock one away. Absolutely lock one away. Lob was terrific in 2024. Hasn't been the case in 2025, and the rest are extremely vulnerable. So if you can get the ball in there quickly, you can really get hold of the Dogs, and we saw that firsthand yesterday.
So conceded 8 goals in a row once again from the end of the first quarter through until the second quarter, where they put on 7-0 at Fremantle. Their inability to defend and halt momentum, are you critical of that, or is it just all on personnel from your point of view down back?
Well, their biggest flaw is that, and that's why I say Sam Power needs to get seriously busy at the end of season to give the coach a chance to win a premiership with this group, while they've still got Marcus Bontempelli at the top of his game and a whole host of midfielders who can seriously play. And their forward line is super dangerous. Croft comes in yesterday and does what he does, but I'd love to see him at half-back. I'd love to see him intercept marking at half-back and running and using his athleticism and his quality and his class there, rather than being another tall forward. They just
is that on Sam Power, or is that on the coach of the position that you put these tools that they've got exposure to?
No, you've got to. Well, my opinion is you've got to spread your quality around the ground a little bit. You can't just put them all in one position. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know my thoughts. You've known my thoughts for 4 years. And until they want to defend the ground, they were not going to get anywhere, and they'll get the same results, and that's the same results that they've got as the most underperforming side since 2021. Now, I'm sure Luke Beveridge sits on list management. If he has a say, like most coaches would, and he sees a weakness, go and get it. I don't know. I think as you know, I think the list management group will be saying, we can't do a whole lot more. You've been blessed with the father-sons that you've got. There'd be teams out there that would kill for it, but until we have a coach that wants to defend, then you're going to get these results. And that's just the reality of it. So, you know my thoughts. I'm going to bite my tongue slightly on it this morning because I can't repeat myself again for 4 years. I just cannot believe that a team with this much talent is not playing in September. I can't believe it. To think that the Giants, with their injuries, and Gold Coast are going to play finals ahead of the Western Bulldogs, it just blows my mind. But there'll be excuses, as there always is. And can I ask you one question? Would they have re-signed him if they didn't jump early halfway through the year and this team missed the 8. Do you think they would have gone with him, or do you think they would have made a change after so long?
Well, we've had this, as you say, have had this same discussion for 4 years. So I think it's the right decision. Now, I understand you don't. I think they have been resetting of sorts to try and give themselves another opportunity, rebuilding on the run or resetting on the run. You don't see it that way. That's fine. I think that they have, and we've talked about this stuff so many times, the decision to play a guy you effectively recruited as centre-half back at centre-half forward has this sort of ramification. Is that all on Bevo? Potentially, yep, potentially it is. But flags are hard to win, mate, and I do think having won one, you get some luxuries with the next opportunity. With
10 years ago,
I understand that, but they would know the planning and where they see the list internally. They're not going to share that with us. They don't have to share that with us, but they must have the resetting type discussion in there to continue on with Bevo. They must.
All right, let's move on to the game on Sunday night where it was Brisbane, a terrific game of footy. It really did feel like a final. It was a bit messy, a bit sloppy. The ball was on the ground a lot, but that's what happens in finals. And the toughest, hardest, cleanest side won in the end. And the brilliance of some of Brisbane's star players came to play. Let's have a listen to the Premiership coach, Chris Fagan, speaking post-match.
To be honest with you, I think if I was to rate this home and away season, it's probably been our best ever, I reckon, with the difficulty of our draw, with the injuries that we've had. So it's been a high degree of difficulty, and to sort of come up with 16 wins and a draw and beat the teams that we've beaten and where we've beaten them, I'd rate it really highly. But as we know, we're going to finals, so a new season starts and none of that really matters.
Kicked 0 goals, 8 in the first term. In the end, they kicked 11 goals, 22. So that would be a level of frustration. But, gee, they're powerful, Kingy. I looked up and Rayner had one kick at about the 28-minute mark of the first quarter. When's Cam Rayner going to insert himself in the game? And he does just that. Hugh McCluggage, what he did, and I don't know what the genius was doing with him, but he was allowing him free rein. I think it was sort of 20 touches in the front half of the ground, 11 score involvements, a couple of goals. He's now a top 10 player. Lohman did his bit. Cameron did his bit. They've just got so much talent with the outs that they've got. Are they the team to beat, the Lions?
Well, of course they're in the conversation for the flag,
aren't they? The team to beat?
I think Geelong still.
They're your fireball five, number one.
Yeah,
Cats.
Yeah, I just feel like we'll get to Geelong in a minute. Brisbane play with such aggression. This is the discussion, right? This is what I keep coming back to. They take corridor even when there's incredible risk involved. Zorko says, "There it is. I'm going to hit it," and pulls the trigger. They do it time and time again from areas. Even when there was 2 minutes to go in the game. And I think it was Bruce Revel is kicking back into the corridor, and they're up by about a goal and a bit, goal and a half. I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing, man? But this is them, and they stick true to what they do, and they challenge every time they get the ball. And people say, but they take a lot of uncontested marks. They shift the ball, they keep the ball in motion, so you can't get set behind them. I love the way they play, and it allows all those guys you just mentioned to get involved. This has been a great season from Chris Fagan, as he said, and he had talked to us last week about the challenges that they'd had. It had been different to the previous campaigns, so he's had to do it with different talent. They've done an amazing job.
They have done an amazing job. I still think they're the team to beat. Lachie Neal to come back. He was ready to go, he thought, last night, but they were cautious with him, so that was the right move. I mean, the game against Geelong was a classic last year. They're doing it slightly. There'll be some run with players, no doubt about that. Maybe two of them for Geelong. So can they take away McCluggage? What do they do with Bailey? That's why that's a fascinating game. Who's your team to beat? Let us know your thoughts on that. Before we get your calls, let's hear from the genius Sam Mitchell on the disappointment of last night.
We're not writing ourselves off. We're disappointed, but excited. And I'm sure every Hawks fan right now is thinking, that would have been a good one to get. But get to play 4 finals instead of 3 now. So, for us, we know we've got a big 2 weeks and, we're going to have a huge performance and finals footy for the second year in a row, which is great for our group and really excited to be part of it.
They're good, but they're one or two short. And when the game was on the line, when they needed a midfielder to step up, they weren't able to do that. Warple is not going to be the guy for you. Nash is got his limitation on that. Dylan Moore is a half forward who they're asking to play big midfield minutes. You've got the small forwards, but there is a glaring hole through that midfield, maybe two. And Will Day hurts, Weddle hurts, but there's no surprise while they're in the Zach Butters race. There's no surprise we're in their Harley Reid race. They would know exactly where they are at, Kingy, and I think that's one or two midfielders short before they can win a premiership.
Yeah, and they're on their list. They're just not healthy. So that's a concession you have to give them. And we will get to Geelong and how healthy they are. If Day's there last night, they probably win. If Weddle's there down, running amok down back, they probably win. They're the small margins that we're working in. But gee, they played some brave footy. They really challenged, and they were full of energy. Mid last term, you thought, you know what, they're going to win this. They were outrunning Brisbane. They were challenging inside to out and breaking through that first layer of pressure. And the controversial free kick. I just can't understand. I couldn't understand.
Blows my mind.
Couldn't understand why the umpire would want to get involved in shaping the game at that stage. It was 50-50 at best.
It blows my mind because Harris Andrews a few minutes earlier, the exact same thing happened, and they call a throw in. Then up the other end, they call an insufficient intent when it's clearly a skill error. Clearly trying to get the ball to his teammate. It's a slippery. I was out in the ground after the game. It was so dewy and slippery for the umpire not to understand that, and what Carl Amon was trying to do, get it to Ginnivan. It was a skill error. Throw it in, and you get away with it. No one's even thinking anything other than skill error. Throw it in.
Yeah.
Instead, they call insufficient intent. Cost you a goal. Just blows my mind that we can have those errors. And
So,
I'd love to know. I would really love to know how many hours the umpires work. Like how many, without making this an umpire bashing, can the AFL be transparent with how many hours a week on site do the umpires work at their craft? Because some of these umpires are getting upwards of $200,000 a year roundabouts if they go through and umpire the finals. It's a lot more than an assistant coach gets. Assistant coaches working 60 hours a week, coding games, speaking to players, being psychologists, doing all sorts of stuff. And the umpires who are, I think, not spending a whole lot of time on their craft, or certainly part-time, are earning just as much. I would love to follow an umpire for a week and see how much time they're putting into their craft. I really would, because the stakes are so high, people's jobs, finals on the line. I don't know if it's acceptable that we've got part-time umpires. I don't.
yeah, I think that when the Damien Hardwick discussion, the game in Port Adelaide, there was some horrendous calls in that and non-calls in that game. I mean, I felt sorry for the Suns having watched it back again. Probably about, I reckon, 8 50-50 calls that
And off the ball
all
ones.
went Port's way.
Yeah, and off the ball. Like, we're talking 30 metres off the ball that cost goals. Like the Georgiades, McAndrew.
Bizarre.
And the 50-metre penalties on Will Power. Like, that costs goals. So it just, that's a mini volcano.
So before you leave Hawthorn, so you're saying this is not their campaign?
Their game's in really good order. But I just think when the game was on the line in a final, they're a powerful midfielder short. Who's the midfielder that's going to get it done?
So this is not their campaign?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't think there's a. Last night, if they'd won, you think differently. That's the swings that we judge teams on. But you can't win it from outside the top four. I'm going to say that this year. It doesn't happen very often. The Pies had a critical comeback. Let's have a listen to the coach, Craig McRae. They've got a pulse.
Yeah, just a will to win. It's just nice to win a close game. We haven't won one for a while. Don't know where we're going to qualify yet. I'm not sure what that means, but 16 wins and a good percentage. I'm sure anyone in this room would be pretty happy with that at the start of the year. Yeah, we've got a pulse now. We're alive.
They are alive. They're in the top four. They head to Adelaide, who weren't that convincing against your Kangaroos, it must be said. Conceded 100 against a team that doesn't score 100 very often. In one of the most anticipated finals you've ever seen, with no Isaac Rankin, and there is animosity, there's no doubt, between both clubs. Kingy, do they have a pulse, Collingwood, or have they just limped to the line? No, Jeremy Howe again.
They're dangerous. I'm not sure they're absolutely bankable. I'm not sure you can say, yep, this is how they're going to play, and they're going to threaten you here, and they're going to get you there, and this player's going to do this, and this player's going to do. They're running on very few cylinders. Those cylinders are bloody good. That's the problem. You can't just say, we got to clamp him or win. Hard to clamp.
Yeah.
Penderbury was brilliant on the weekend.
The goalie's the story. The goalie's the story. So can he put together a run of 3 weeks that takes his team to a... Because I think that's what they're going to need. It can't be Pendlebury again. Like, the guy's 36. He's played 400-odd games. Nick will do what Nick does. But there needs to be someone else come along for the ride. He came along for the ride. He was awesome, and he needed to be. But can he put together 3 weeks of a stretch that would put him into legend status at Collingwood after the final series he has had? He's a moments player. I don't know if he can do it, but I think he's going to need to.
Yeah, they need. You're right. They do need someone else to do some of the heavy lifting around Nick and Pendles, to be fair. I think it's Bo McCreary. Every time I see this guy put his speed into the game, he just does things that separate games. It's a bit like, not to Rayner's level, right? He hasn't done it yet. Rayner's done it on the biggest of stages, but it's that type of player.
Yeah. Game breaks a game open with 3 or 4 possessions.
Yep, and can go unsighted for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was worried. I thought he was injured again, but credit to him, under some adversity, did it. And I don't know, like, just the backs. I mean, if they get 70 entries again, like they did a couple of weeks ago in Adelaide, they win. That's game played again, but I'm not sure. I think, I don't know how do they defend against Adelaide's front 6 with no Jeremy Howe's the question. So
are they going to play aggressive, or are they going to play long down the line footy? I think that's the big challenge. I mean, they can do all modes really. So they become a bit of a threat. I think that he's played around with it the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks. And I think there's some confusion when you're playing against them. It'll be a challenge to say this is how they play, this is what they want to do, because they have chopped and changed it, which makes them, in my opinion, dangerous. I think they're in great form, but they're dangerous.
Dangerous. You would be wary of them if you're coming up against them, and no team needs the extra week off more. So this is all in for them. If they have this week off and then they win the first one in Adelaide, have another week off, what an absolute luxury that would be, with the concerns that they've got around some of their players and certainly the age of it. What a blown opportunity for the Gold Coast Suns. Kingy, could not believe what I was watching with half a sample side for Port Adelaide, I would have thought. Let's have a listen to the disappointed coach, Damien Hardwick, and rightly so after the game.
You're playing for a finals campaign. If you need me to sit there and give you a motivational speech to want to play your first finals campaign in our organisation's history, then you're playing the wrong game. Our players have got to pick themselves up. They've got to lead from the front. They're going to take charge. I'm going to hand it over to them. And we're going to see what this group's made of, because they are made out of something special. Tonight they didn't show it, but I think they're capable of doing some really good things.
Are they made out of something special, or are they just words? Because if they were made out of something special, you go to Port Adelaide with the emotion, you absorb it for a quarter or two, and then you put the foot down and you put in a fully professional performance, which we didn't see. Are they just words or not?
No, I think he's done a great job to build them to this finals campaign. That was point one, wasn't it? They had to get that monkey off the back. I still think they'll get that done. The performances of Anderson and Rowell are 2 outliers that we haven't seen for a long time. They just had no real score involvement impact in the game. They just did hardly sided with the dash and the dare that they've been playing with for the best part of 3 or 4 months. So you just have to put a line through it. It just was left to too few. And to be fair, if it isn't Anderson and Rowell, who is it that steps up? Humphreys wasn't there, obviously. Who is it?
Well, so are you questioning the quality, or are you questioning the leadership with that statement?
Like just want more intent from others.
Yeah, so it's not a talent issue. It's a mindset. Yeah,
a stack of talent. So you just want to see them, spread the load a bit more, and for some, when those two are slightly off or down to get involved, they just didn't seem to have that at all. And they just have desperately missed Damrioli. I mean, I know injuries are no excuse, but he's He's a line breaker, a game changer for them. Boyle reports he's back, I think, on next
He
for
is.
Wednesday.
After the game, Damien Hubbock said him and Humphrey would be available. So I think he's still listed as 1 to 3 on their official injury report. But all reports are whether they take a cautious approach and think they're just going to win regardless and get him right for the first final. That's probably what I would do. But certainly Humphrey makes a difference. He's there. He's their younger Cam Rayner that has the ability to do that. But top 4 position up for grabs. Couldn't have been any more disappointed by what I saw with Gold Coast on Friday night. And I think the Western Bulldogs are going, geez, we're a lot better than Gold Coast, but we haven't got the spot in the finals. Chris Scott, well, he has done it again with another top 4 finish. They've quietly gone about their business and are in a magnificent position. Here he is, just speaking on whether the softer draw towards the back end of the season will be a factor.
You couldn't prove it even if you had a feeling that it was an issue. And it's one of those things that if it goes well, it'll look like proof that it wasn't an issue. If it doesn't, it'll come up as an issue and no one will be able to prove it. I thought we played pretty well under pressure against the Swans, who were pretty hot last week. So, yeah, I think you can analyse these things to death and still not come up with a very clear picture. So we'll just play what's in front of us.
Play what's in front of you like they always do. Calm, composed, measured, manage the season beautifully, games in good order. The game should be at Geelong. They've earned the right for that game to be at Geelong against Brisbane. It won't be, it should be, Kingy, but they're your number 1 seeds.
Yeah,
Cats.
He's like Bart Cummings. He's just got them right for the right time of year, fully fit, managed to perfection, Dangerfield up and going, ready to go. I know you've had some history with Bart Cummings.
I've had some problems with Bart.
No, but they have. They've got this campaign, and it is a marathon.
Been a while between drinks.
It has been a while between, and probably a while
Very
between.
Very good.
They're all over it out the back. I love what they've done. I like how they play. I like how they play wide and with speed, and their gut runners are evident everywhere across the field. They've got damage. There's damage on every line. And Tom Stewart back in the serious form. They got these spark players now. Myers going on ball's a game changer. Manor has become an absolute top liner. Mm-hmm. So they really don't want for much, do they?
They don't want for much. They're in good shape. Henry's the other one behind the ball as well that no one talks about. I think Nathan Buckley might have spoken about him during the call, like just exactly what you want as a defender. That's the footy, the 5x5 coming up. We got an event on Wednesday, you and I.
Is that this week, is it?
I think it might be this week.
I'm glad you brought it up then.
Are you going to wear what you're wearing right now? For those that are just joining us, you've never seen a more ridiculous outfit.
Mate, if you're going to invest, you were going to wear it as a Hawaiian shirt as well to get involved in the Guts Up Cup, and you backed out. And now you're having a go at me.
I just travelled and I forgot to pack my Hawaiian shirt.
I forgot, did you?
I
You could have got one up there.
I'm just understated, just got it done in the Guts Up Cup and very, very happy with proceedings.
If you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound.
For the first time this year, the Western Bulldogs unfortunately can't feature in my 5x5, even though
can't win it from here.
They should be able to win it from here, but they won't. They won't feature in the 5x5, which is a crime for me. Brisbane, Geelong, Adelaide, my Hawks. And I think the Giants are better than Collingwood, but it's going to be tough from outside the top 4. Kingy, your 5.
Geelong, Brisbane, Adelaide, the Hawks, and the Pies.
All right, good stuff. Hey, do you know what went crazy last Monday, I think it was the recruits pass or fail for the year.
Geez, got some feedback on that too.
Put you under the pump on that one.
I know, I wasn't ready for that.
Had you sweating?
I only had pass or fail. I had no middle. I need a middle grounder.